Thank you, Georgie, for your warm welcome and introduction. It is my great pleasure, and Resurgence magazine has been going for the past 55 years. This is one of the longest living magazine serving the environmental, spiritual, and holistic vision and values. And it is my pleasure to talk about We Are Nature. In the Western science and even philosophy, we have seen this idea of separation from nature and to humanity. This separation has been the cause of many of our environmental and ecological crises. First, we say nature is out there. The trees, the mountains, the forests, the animals, the birds, the rivers, the oceans are nature. And we humans are not nature. We are separate from nature. And just because we are separate from nature, we are also superior to nature. Nature is there to serve our needs. So we can do to nature what we like. So this is the reason that we have the separation so that we can dominate something which we are not. So I want to change that. Resurgence has been working to change that. And we want to say that this is a mistaken view to think that nature and humans are separate. Nature is made of earth, air, fire, water, basic elements. Animals are made of the same elements. The trees are made of the same elements. The humans are also made of the same elements. We are made of earth, air, fire, water, and even you can say space and time and consciousness. So we are made of the same elements. Therefore, we are one. We are also nature. Humans are as much nature as the mountains, the forests, the animals, the birds, the oceans, the soil, everything. We are one. We are all connected. We are all interrelated. This view of unity of life is the fundamental transformation, fundamental change that we need to have if we want to really take care of our precious planet Earth. We all have come from the same origin. At the time of Big Bang, there was nothing, some gases, then maybe water. But there was no humans, no animals, no mountains, no forests, no birds, no insects, nothing. So the evolution had worked over billions and billions of years to develop this diversity of life. Magnificent life. Almost we can say life is a miracle. Nature is a miracle. So we all have come from the same origin. The animals, the forest, the water, all those things which we call nature are our ancestors. We are children of nature. And so this single origin, if we can remember, this is a scientific theory, evolution. We all have single one origin. We have all come from the same Big Bang. So the moment we realize that, we say we are nature. Also, the word itself, the word nature and natal are connected. They come from the same root, etymological root. Natal means birth. Any mother would know the word prenatal check, pre-birth check, or postnatal check, or post-birth check. And so natal and nature means the same thing. So everything, whatever is born is nature. So trees are born, animals are born, birds are born, humans are born. Whatever is born is nature. So how can we say we are not nature? Nature is just out there, the trees and the mountains and the forests, and we are not nature. So we are born, therefore we are nature. So this unity of life coming from the evolution and the Big Bang, and also from our very language of nature and nature, that we are one. Then this unity evolves into diversity, as I said. And we should celebrate diversity. It's wonderful to have so many species upon this earth. And we should celebrate this biodiversity. At the moment, biodiversity is in risk of disappearing. Biodiversity is diminishing. Every year, the scientists are witnessing the loss of species because of our human activities. We are expanding our footprint on planet Earth. And we are encroaching more and more. Forests, mountains, rivers, oceans, everything we are encroaching and we are taking to control. So our oceans are now polluted with plastic, full of plastic. And our soil is full of chemicals and fertilizers and pesticides and herbicides, all that almost poisonous rubbish. And we are cutting down the rainforests so that we can have more and more monocultural factory farms, monocrops, cash crops like soybeans or corn or something. So food has become a commodity and the land is being used just to make big profit. So in this dualistic thinking, the nature and humans are separate. We have become not only the masters, but we have made the nature as a resource for the economy. So nature has become just a resource. Whereas the non-dualistic thinking, when I speak, I say, we are nature. That means nature is life itself. Nature is not just a source of economy. Nature is a source of life or life itself. So the moment we realize that nature is not just a resource, then we will turn and remember to value nature and respect nature. Intrinsic value, not valuing nature in terms of her usefulness to humans. So we say, oh, these forests we will protect because they are useful to humans. So we value nature only in terms of her usefulness to humans as a resource for the economy. But the moment we say that nature and humans are one, we value nature in its own right. We say nature has intrinsic value. Now, this is a very wonderful resurgence philosophy, what it is called deep ecology. So deep ecology means giving nature its intrinsic value. And then the second step would be that nature has value, intrinsic value, but also nature has rights. We all talk about human rights. Of course, humans have rights to live, but nature also has rights. So as we support human rights, we also need to support rights of nature. So intrinsic value of nature, then rights of nature. So forests have rights to be as they are, unpolluted, undestroyed, undiminished. Forests have rights, animals have rights, birds have rights, oceans have rights, rivers have rights. All life has rights to live. That does not mean that we don't interact and we don't give and take. Of course, we receive our livelihood, our food, our clothes, our houses, everything comes from nature. But we receive it only to meet our needs and not for our greed. Mahatma Gandhi said that there is enough in the world, or rather, nature provides enough for everybody's need, but not enough for anybody's greed. So at the moment, our economy is not designed to meet the needs of people. At the moment, our economy is designed to meet the greed of the people. And not all people. There's a tremendous social injustice, there's tremendous poverty, that there are millions of people who have no proper food, no proper housing, no proper education, no access to medicine. There are lots of people in poverty. So nature's resources are not used for all human beings equally or comfortably. It's, nature is being used as an instrument of making profit by a minority of people. People say that it's almost 1% of people own more than 50% of world's wealth, land, forests, all the natural resources. And so we need to have this transformation of our consciousness. So before we can change social systems, political systems, economic systems, we need to change our attitude to nature. Because as long as our old attitude remains of separation, and we say nature is there dualistically and we are separate, therefore we can dominate nature, nature is only a resource for the economy. If this attitude, this mindset continues, then we are more likely to exploit nature and destroy biodiversity. So the first transformation we need is a change of attitude, change of consciousness, change of our values. What is our relationship with the natural world? So the moment we change that and we say that nature is not only a resource for the economy, and nature is not simply a separate thing from us, but we are one, we are nature, and nature is a life itself, then we will treat nature as we treat other human beings. And of course, we don't treat all other human beings as well properly, because same attitude as we have of separation with nature, we also have a kind of idea of separation between humans and humans. So we separate in the name of caste, in the name of class, in the name of nationality, in the name of religion, in the name of many, many things, race. And so this separation, this dualistic worldview is, in my view, and I'm talking that this evening, in my view, is the root of the problem of our modern world, this separation. So we have to shift from the idea of separation to connection, to relationship. And so even in humanity, we have to say, we are not separate. We are not disconnected. If you are American or European or African or Asian or Hindu or Muslim or Christian or black or white, whatever you are, first and foremost, we are all humans. And that unity of humanity, manifesting in diverse forms, diversity, that is wonderful. It's wonderful to have many religions, many nationalities, many languages, many cultures, many truths, many philosophies, many political systems. It's wonderful. Diversity should be celebrated. It will be boring if 7 billion people followed only one religion, be it Christian or Muslim or Hindu or Buddhist or any other. It would be boring if all 7 billion people spoke only one language, be it English or French or German or Swahili or Hindi or Sanskrit or Chinese or any language. It would be boring to have that kind of uniformity. So when I'm talking about unity, I'm not talking about uniformity. There is a great deal of difference between uniformity and unity. Unity celebrates diversity. Uniformity creates division. So I'm shifting from division to diversity and from uniformity to unity. And so let us celebrate our diversity and see through diversity our unity. So one humanity, one earth, one future. We are all interconnected. And even we are not separate from our ancestors. And we are not separate from our future generations. We think of only ourselves. We have to think of future generations as well. The American Indian indigenous communities of North America, they, Navajos and other indigenous people in North America, they believe that whatever action you take today, you should think of the seventh generation. What a wonderful, beautiful idea. Not just our generation or my children or grandchildren, but 7 generations. That's a wonderful view of future generations. So we are connected also with our future generations. So let us think that big way, this big mind, big heart, inclusivity, generosity of spirit. If we have that, then all our global problems like climate change and biodiversity diminishing and pollution and waste and all these problems that we face today, they will be minimized because our values have changed, our attitudes have changed, and we have come to believe this intrinsic value of nature, the deep ecology. At the moment, we see we are nature, it's a big change happens. When we have seen nature separate from humans, what we have done, we have said that nature is not alive. Nature is inanimate. Nature is nature is not, the earth is a dead rock. Only humans have consciousness. Only humans have intelligence. Only humans have memory. We have soul. Animals have no soul. Trees have no intelligence. This idea is also fundamentally dualistic and, in my view, wrong. Nature is alive. William Blake, the great British poet, understood it. He said, nature is imagination itself. The imagination is not only a human attribute, the imagination is also in nature. So nature is imagination itself. Even Shakespeare, he understood this, which scientists and maybe mechanistically thinking technological people and so on don't understand. But Shakespeare understood. He said, tongues in trees, books in running brooks, sermons in stones, and good in everything. What a beautiful philosophy and poetry that Shakespeare had. What I'm speaking to you today about, we are nature, and nature and humans are connected and interrelated. That truth, that awareness was in Shakespeare's time. Shakespeare understood it. He said, tongues in trees. Trees are speaking to us. Listen to the trees. They don't speak English, but they speak tree English. So listen to the trees. And books in running brooks. We read our printed books, but read the book of nature. Read the book of the trees. And then sermons in stones. I had a wonderful conversation, interview with Richard Dawkins. And he said, these rocks have no spirit. Rocks are dead rocks. They have no consciousness. But look at Shakespeare. He said, if you want to hear sermons, teachings, you don't have to go to the Bible or the church or the mosque or the temple or the cathedral. Sermons are in the stone. They are giving us the teachings of resilience and patience and endurance. Sermons in stones. What a beautiful vision and what a beautiful idea. I love it. And so I always remember Shakespeare's words. And then the final line, good in everything. That's so beautiful. We see good in trees and mountains and rocks and animals and birds and insects and earthworms, and my favorite, earthworms. You know, Darwin came up with the idea of evolution. How did he come to the idea of evolution? He studied earthworms. So don't forget, earthworms were the teachers of Darwin. And the origin of the evolutionary idea and evolution, science of evolution, came by studying earthworms. So long live the earthworms, in my view. And earthworms working under the soil, they are working day and night, looking after our soil and producing good food. They are helping to produce good food. They take the leaves and the compost and they take it under the soil, and they are working, turning the soil day and night, 24 hours, 7 days a week, asking no holiday, no wages, nothing. That is the beauty of nature. That even earthworms are part of this gigantic, wonderful, magical, majestic, natural existence and natural reality. So if we can have that attitude and that understanding that nature is conscious, nature is alive, nature has a memory. If we can have that kind of understanding, then it will be the real understanding of we are nature and nature is us. There is no separation. We are made of stars. We are children of the stars. Without the sun, we will not be here. So sun and we are one. And the day and night, we are one. So this unity of life is so beautiful and it touches my heart. And so I speak it with great passion that we are one. And if we see whole of humanity and the whole of cosmos and the whole of the Gaia earth in us and us in everything, that kind of reflection, like you see yourself in the mirror, you see yourself in animals, you see yourself in trees, and you see yourself in the ocean and the river and in the mountains. That unity, there's a kind of poetic, imaginative view that I would like you to embrace in the name of we are nature. And then, as I mentioned, Gaia, that's another wonderful new science. The old science of separation and division and dualism and mechanism and reductionism, Newtonian science, that is now becoming an old story. The new story is story of Gaia. And before Gaia, scientists thought that the earth was a dead rock. But now, Gaia science is saying the earth is a living organism. It's a living earth. And we are part of this living earth. So this, if you can understand and study Gaia philosophy and Gaia science, my friend James Lovelock, and I was very fortunate and privileged to be his neighbor. James Lovelock lived in Devon, in my neighborhood, and we used to go walking on Dartmoor, and we used to have lunch together. And now he's more than 100 years old, still alive. We are very fortunate to have him still with us. And so he came up with this idea of Gaia, goddess, Greek goddess Gaia. He called his science as a living organism after the Greek goddess Gaia. And the word Gaia is the root of geology, geography, and geometry, all these wonderful words which come from Gaia. And so Gaia as a living organism, unity of life, this is a kind of flow that I would like to see in very simple terms. We don't have to have a rocket science to change our views. The moment we realize that we are nature, we are part of Gaia, we are part of the earth, nature has intrinsic value, and we need to have deep ecology, deep experience of nature. This is why I always love going in nature and sitting on Dartmoor. Yesterday, even in the windy day, I go and sit on the tors of Bench Tor or Cumstone Tor or many other tors. I sit on the top of the tor and I admire and the magic and the miracle of nature. And so if we can go and experience nature, that is I call deep experience. So deep ecology, intrinsic value of nature, leading to deep experience. And when you have deep experience, then you make a deep commitment that what is giving me this nourishment, what is giving me this inspiration, what is feeding my imagination, what is giving me health and healing to my body, to my soul, to my spirit. This nature needs to be looked after, protected, cared for, nourished, nurtured. That kind of deep commitment comes from that deep experience of nature. So I ask you all to every week, if you can go out in nature, because our modern life is so closed. We always live in air-conditioned homes, and then we go in our cars, which are air-conditioned cars, we drive, and then we go in the office and sit in an air-conditioned office. We are always living in a box. We have lost connection with nature. If we have no connection with nature, no deep experience of nature, how can you have a deep commitment to protect nature? So in order to protect nature, care for nature, we have to go out in nature and be in nature and walk in nature and sleep on the rocks and look at the stars and look at the sun, look at the clouds, look at the sunset, look at the sunrise. That kind of deep experience will lead to deep commitment. And so deep ecology, deep experience, deep commitment. This is my undertaking, or this is my view of we are nature. So in nutshell, I have explained this understanding. And I hope that it gives you some new way of looking at nature and realizing that we are nature. And I'll be delighted to answer any questions you have. These are it's a common sense in a way. The old science was a kind of separation of nature and humans, was a kind of anomaly and a kind of aberration. The real common sense, which we have learned from Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, old Christianity like St. Francis and many other saints, they have all understood, and Shakespeare and William Blake, all these poets and mystics have understood the unity of life beautifully. But the science in the middle came and created this dualism, separation, and a domination of nature. Now we have to go back to that poetic imagination and consider that we are nature. We have to one with nature. We have to have experience of nature. We have to have a deep commitment to nature. And we have to celebrate this beautiful Gaia, Mother Nature, and a Mother Earth, and this precious Mother Earth. If we can have that enthusiastic and passionate unity with Mother Earth, our Earth will be protected. And 2021 is going to be a very important year because climate change and COVID-19, the coronavirus, these two things, these two big crises are reminding people that business as usual is not the option. Business as usual before 2020, before coronavirus, that cannot be the reality. So all the governments are now committing to decarbonize the economy. All the governments are moving and shifting from this fossil fuel-based economy and fossil fuel-based energy system to renewable energy system. So wind power, solar power, water power, and insulation of houses. So this is all part of a new awareness. And I think this new awareness is now reflected in the United Nations. The last 2 weeks, the Secretary General of the United Nations has given two wonderful speeches. If you have not come across the two speeches made by the Secretary General of the United Nations, I will recommend you to look out the UN website and his speeches. He's saying that we have to make peace with nature. The humanity is at war with nature and destroying our natural world. So we have to make peace with nature. And he's saying that we have to declare a world emergency. Every nation, every country have to declare an emergency, climate emergency, and a COVID emergency, and look after nature. So 2021 is going to be an important year when governments are working on it. And in Great Britain, in Scotland, actually, in Glasgow, in the city of Glasgow, there'll be a COP26, big conference in November next year. And at that time, the world governments are going to come together to declare how they are going to decarbonize economy and make sure that our pollution, our waste, and our separation with nature, that comes to an end. Of course, governments and business and industry are still in the old consciousness of separation and still domination, but they are doing things just for the human interest and human benefit. But I think it's a step in the right direction. But they have to go a little bit further, and they have to embrace the idea of deep ecology and a spiritual ecology and a reverential ecology. These are the words that I would like to see adopted by the mainstream society. Deep ecology, reverential ecology, and an ecology of love, and an ecology of respect, reverential ecology. So these are my views, and I hope that you can support Resurgence Trust and Resurgence Magazine and Ecologist Magazine, and be part of this great journey of transformation. We are all together in this great journey. So I hope that we can continue to work, and 2021 will be a wonderful year, a better year than 2020. And I wish you a very wonderful Christmas and a very wonderful New Year, because we are now on the threshold of the end of the 2020, and 2021 may be a better year, a more enlightened year, so that we can all love nature and be one with nature and be nature. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Satish. Your passion and your insights are so inspiring and so motivating. So thank you for all that you've shared. How can we show people with dualistic mindsets that we are all connected?
Best way to show people how we are connected is by example. As Mahatma Gandhi said, we have to be the change that we want to see in the world. Words do not have power without practice, without the living example. So first and foremost, we have to show that attitude in ourselves. That's one thing we have to do. Be the change, be the example in your attitude, in your speaking, in your words, whatever you are doing, show that you are one with nature. Number two, you also need to communicate these ideas to other people. There's no good just being and then remaining silent. Silence is good. I practice silence, but I practice silence together with communication. This is why I'm communicating this evening. So I would like all of those who want to bring transformation in the world, learn a skill to communicate. And there are many, many different ways of communicating. You can communicate like I'm communicating with speech. You can communicate by writing books, but not only that. You can communicate through poetry. You can communicate through singing. You can communicate through painting. Picasso painted Guernica. And with that one painting, he has communicated the message of peace. And I think he changed the consciousness of millions of people by that one painting. And many, many people have just sung songs like John Lennon and Bob Dylan and John Baez and Joni Mitchell and many, many people who communicate through singing. So I would advise all of you who are listening to learn a skill to communicate these ideas about nature, about ecology, about spirituality, about unity, all the things which you value and cherish. All these ideas need to be communicated. The world is rich because of communication. All our great poets have communicated. Our artists have communicated through their paintings. So our museums and art galleries are full of wonderful art of communication. The stories are told through pictures and paintings. So learn to communicate. But not only these artistic ways, we can also communicate through very simple things, like a great cook, a chef, like Hugh Fearnley Whittingstall, communicates the message of ecology and message of a simple living and organic food and a simple food but simple life and unity with nature through cooking. He's a great communicator through cooking. And so gardening, like Monty Don, for example, is communicating by being a gardener, wonderful gardening. Then he can also communicate on television, but being a good gardener is a communication. You don't have to be on television and to communicate or on a newspaper or magazine to communicate. People will come to your garden and see your garden, that how organically gardened soil is looked after and how it can produce such a good food. You don't have to go and buy salad from California or avocado from Africa or some big things from far away. You can produce wonderful, delicious asparagus and tomatoes and carrots and beans and peas and everything in your garden. So communicating through your action, you can do wonderfully. So be the change and communicate the change. That's the second thing. And the third thing I say is organize the change. There are many wonderful organizations like Greta Thunberg is organizing a strike for the future or Friday for the future and the climate change issues. And hundreds of thousands of young boys and girls from schools are coming out of the schools and marching on Fridays and communicating. So join such movements. Extinction Rebellion is another great movement, and we can join them. But also some simpler organizations. You don't have to be such a radical as Extinction Rebellion. If you don't want to, then you can just join Friends of the Earth or Greenpeace or WWF or a Solar Association. There are many wonderful organizations. Support them. Researchers Trust, support them. So by joining the organizations which are working for the unity of life and nature and human unity, then by joining and organizing the change, you can participate. So there are three things I have said to you, Georgie, three things people can do. Be the change, communicate the change, and organize the change. And that way you can participate in this journey of change and journey of transformation.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Satish. So much we can take away from that. The next question is, how can we create a regenerative economy from the ground up?
Very good question. Thank you very much. How can we create a regenerative economy from ground up? First and foremost, we need to think about local. At the moment, our economy has been globalized. And when you have a globalized economy, you have to build huge infrastructure, roads, railways, airports, seaports, ships, everything. And then you have to build all these infrastructure, so you have to use resources. So you dig and mine and cut down forests in order to build these infrastructures, in order to import and export your clothes, your food, your shoes, your furniture. So wherever you are, ground up, think local and buy local, consume local. Local is ecological. When you are importing, exporting foods and clothes and shoes and furniture and technology and so on, also with those things, you are exporting, importing some viruses and some illnesses. So this COVID-19 is a good example how one virus has spread around the world. And so it is better, more healthy economically to think local. Think locally, sorry. Act locally, trade locally, consume locally, but think globally. Your consciousness should be universal. You are embracing the universe in your heart. Your heart is big, your mind is big, and you can have music, you can have philosophy, you can have yoga from India, you can have Taoism from China, you can have poetry from America. Walt Whitman's poetry is beautiful, and Wendell Berry's poetry, and John Byers, and many, many wonderful other. So music, poetry, these can spread. A small amount of travel with a real learning is fine. When you go to travel in other countries, like going to Africa, going to South America, going to Asia, going to faraway countries, go there for real learning, not to live in hotels like Western style hotels. And even if you are in Delhi, you live like you were living in London or New York or Paris. What's the point of going to Delhi if you are going to stay in Hilton, stay in Paris or New York or London? If you want to go to India, then live like Indians and eat like Indians and experience the culture, the philosophy, the values, the religion, the music, the poetry of that country, so that you come back with the richness of each country and culture that you come from. So have a big mind, not narrow mind, but big heart, not narrow heart, but your roots should be local. So regenerative economy has to be local. And then when you are growing food especially, make sure that whatever you are eating, you eat, but rest goes in the compost. Making compost is regenerative agriculture and regenerative gardening, because whatever comes from the earth should go back to the earth. That is the economy of nature. We have to learn from nature. Nature is our teacher. Nature is our mentor. Learn the economy of nature and see how in nature there is no waste. In nature there is no pollution. Why humans are kind of cursed to produce waste and pollution. And so nature is our teacher. Nature is our mentor. And we learn from nature there is no waste and no pollution. And so that's a regenerative economy, regenerative agriculture. So whether you are clothes or shoes or furniture or anything, when it comes to an end, you bend it, you repair it, and if it comes to an end, it goes back to nature. So this cyclical economy is the regenerative economy. Cycle. In nature, everything is cyclical. Everything is in cycle. But humans have created this linear economy. You take from nature, you use it and throw it away on the waste bin or on the landfill or in the sea or in the river or wherever in the soil. Creating landfill is a sin against nature. Producing waste and pollution is a crime against nature. We should never do that. So regenerative economy is a cyclical economy. Everything goes back into nature and in nature, as I said, economy of nature is leaves fall on the ground in the autumn and they become soil again. And that becomes the nourishment to the tree trunks and the roots. And that nourishment comes back into the branches. And then in the spring, you have new leaves and then new blossom. And in the summer and the autumn, you have a new fruit. That is the example. This is why I repeat again and again, the learn from nature. The economy of nature is a cyclical economy, the regenerative economy. That is our way to do it. So that is the way to do local. Go local, think local, consume local, trade local, think global, have global consciousness, global heart, but body is local.
Excellent. Thank you, Satish. We've had a few people asking whether you think that there are ways that nature tries to communicate with us and how we can better hear that communication.
Very good question. Yes, the answer is yes. The nature is telling us a lot. This is why I quoted Shakespeare, tongues in trees. The trees have tongues and we have to listen to nature. So what is nature is telling us? This coronavirus is another communication from nature. It's a cry from nature. It's a voice of nature. We have been thinking that humans are very powerful. We are so strong and powerful that we can conquer nature. We can dominate nature. We can subjugate nature. We can control nature. This has been our mindset. Nature is telling us that you humans, be careful. You are not that powerful, not as powerful as you thought. And if you do not behave, then your pollution and your waste will come back to haunt you. And so we have to listen to nature and say, the trees are bringing the fresh air and the clean air. And it takes our carbon and consolidates carbon into the tree and gives us back oxygen. So this is what we have to learn from nature. This is the speaking, nature speaking, tongues in trees, nature speaking. Absorb what is negative and give what is positive, what is life-giving. If we can learn this one lesson from nature, that if you are receiving something, take it and transform it into beautiful product. Like nature takes carbon and absorbs it and turns into a trunk, a tree. The soil absorbs carbon. That's a good lesson from listening from the soil. Soil absorbs and concentrates the carbon. So nature had this way of taking something which is negative, transforming it. So we can transform whatever negative we take and then give back our love, our compassion, our kindness, like nature gives you fruit unconditionally. We can learn from nature unconditional love. You don't have to go to the Bible or Quran or Bhagavad Gita or temple or mosque or church or cathedral to learn the lesson of love. You can learn from nature. If you go to an apple tree, it never asks you, who are you? Are you worthy of my fruit? Have you got money, wallet with you? No. Nature gives you fruit, whoever you come. You are a saint, have apples. You are a sinner, have apples. If you are black, white, young, old, woman, man, educated, uneducated, humans, birds, animals, whoever you are, unconditional giving. That is the tree speaking to us. To learn to have unconditional love for everybody. Give what you can, what you have. Do not hold back. This is what I learned from nature. So nature is speaking to us and we have to listen to nature and live that. And tree never eats its own fruit. Of course, fruit goes into the soil and the soil turns the fruit into the soil and then nourishment goes back into the trunk and that way it gets back into nature. But the tree gives fruit to the world. River gives water to the world. Rivers is telling us that everybody's function is to nourish other people. So water never drinks itself. Water is there to nourish and quench the thirst of animals and birds and humans and trees and every living being, living creature. So that is what I learned from nature. That is what I listen from nature. I hear from nature. Nature is saying to us, absorb negative, transform it into good and give it back. And do not desire the results and the fruit of your action for yourself. Make the fruit of your action available to everybody else. And if everybody else is making the fruit of their action available to you, then you are nourished. So trees nourished by the soil, and trees nourished by the rain, and trees nourished by the sunshine. So we are all interchanging and nourishing each other. This is what we can listen from nature, the lesson of mutuality, the lesson of reciprocity. This is the greatest teaching and speaking that nature is giving us. Learn from nature, reciprocity, mutuality. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Satish. Many activists end up feeling disempowered about the effects that their individual actions can have in the face of the powers of great corporations, etc. So the question is, how can activists and we be more effective and stay motivated?
Yes. Many activists feel disempowered. Many activists feel burnout. Many activists feel disappointed. Many activists think that they are not making any impact on the world and not bringing about any real change. Corporations are continuing doing well their job. This is the kind of dilemma many activists have. I understand it. But remember and see the examples of our ancestors who have been great activists. And their power at that moment maybe did not seem very effective, but in the end, they were very effective. The suffragettes, the women who went to prison, at that time, they suffered. And there was very little result. And many, many women over hundreds of years have not only fought for the vote, right to vote, but also equal pay and equal treatment. It took hundreds of years, and now even long way to go, but you can say big change has happened. When I came to England 50 years ago, women were not allowed to wear trousers in the office. Can you imagine? And now you have prime ministers and presidents, women who are wearing trousers. And at that time, in those days, no country had prime minister or president, a woman. And now you have many countries, presidents and prime ministers and ministers and high offices occupied by women. So changes have come over a long period. Take Mahatma Gandhi. At his time, the sun never set under the British colonial and imperial rule. But now, where is British Empire and colonialism? It's gone. But it took a long time. And at that time, many people were feeling, oh, we are fighting and fighting and British are not listening and imperialism is not going away, colonialism is not going away. But it took 50, 60 years to get that freedom. Anti-apartheid movement. I was demonstrating in front of South Africa House in Trafalgar Square against apartheid. And at that time I was thinking, oh, we're so hopeless. We are working and working away. And it's such a long time and apartheid is not going away. And Nelson Mandela in prison year after year after year. Can you remember 27 years in prison? I asked those activists who are feeling disappointed, look at Nelson Mandela. Are you prepared to wait for 27 years before you become the president of the new South Africa? So these are the examples, and I can give you many examples. History is full of examples. So we are activists out of love for humanity. We are activists out of our love for planet Earth, our mother nature, our mother Gaia. So when you are out of love doing something, then you are doing as a service to humanity, as a service to planet Earth. And when you are in a service out of love, you are not asking for any results. Results are in the hands of the universe. I'm not in charge of the results. I became an activist at age 18. Now I'm 84 and I'm still activist and I have no disappointment. I have no burnout. I'm full of enthusiasm. Even at the age 84, I have no lack of energy. I am an activist because I am activist out of love, out of sense of service. In the footsteps of Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Wangari Maathai, Martin Luther King, all the suffragist women who have fought, and Thunberg, Greta Thunberg, and Vandana Shiva, many, many women and men who are acting out of love. So all activists, our revolution is a love revolution. Act out of love. Do not desire results and outcome tomorrow or immediately. It may take a long time before. And you may not see the results of your action today. I may not see the results of actions in my life. Doesn't matter. I'm working for the future generations as well, for the benefit and for the well-being of the future generations. And so if you have that big vision of love and service and a devotion to planet Earth, then you don't demand anything. You don't expect anything. You just act, act, act. Like action is our prerogative. Results are not in our hands. We do not seek results. We do not seek success. We seek joy. So rather than being successful, be joyful. Enjoy your action. Like I was saying, nature has intrinsic value. In the same way, your action has intrinsic value. Your action is your reward itself. You don't have to seek any other reward outside your action as a result of your action. The action itself, saying that we want to take care of Mother Earth, just that word saying, that commitment is itself very good. If more and more people become that way, active in their life, the world will be a better place. So do not worry. Act out of love, act out of sense of service, and you will be fine. And you continue, and activism is a lifelong commitment. It's not for 5 years or 10 years or 2 years, and then you want quick results, and then action is over. Action and activism is a lifelong commitment. I have given my life to ecology, to environment, to peace, to non-violence, to goodness of humanity. And all my life, I will continue to do that. Whatever the result, doesn't matter. If I have that consciousness, then I have no burnout, no disappointment. I don't expect anything. Expectation brings disappointment. I accept reality as it is and try to transform it, change it, improve it as much as I can. That's my job. That's my responsibility. That's my action. And I celebrate my action itself. That's my attitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Satish. The majority of humans now live in urban areas. How can we support and encourage all city dwellers to sustain a relationship and respect of nature?
Very good question about cities. Cities have been designed to meet the needs of the industrial society. Shopping, factories, big business, all that is result of the industrialism. And industrialism has been also part of materialism. And materialism is that only thing which matters is material goods and possessions. More houses, more roads, more cars, more computers, more material things. Materialism is matter is the only thing that matters. All other things like spirituality, relationship, friendship, community, all these ideas, love and care for each other, and community, sense of community and family, all these things are secondary. The primary is money, profit, economic growth, and the cities make that possible. Now we are on the cusp of a change, and we are coming out of this industrial age into a more ecological age. The 20th century and the 19th century, but particularly 20th century, was century of the economy. 21st century is going to be the century of ecology, environmental, sustainability, regenerative economy. And if we want to bring these, then we have to redesign our cities. And these cities have been built by humans. They can be changed by humans. Cities are not God-given. Cities are not like rainforests, that they are here forever. And we are destroying rainforests as well. So rather than destroying rainforests, let us try to destroy some of the cities that are too big, too full of slums and too full of pollution and waste. So let's not have cities with slums and pollution and waste. So let's redesign our cities where nature and culture come together as a kind of marriage of nature and culture, We don't have to send nature into exile out of the city. That nature, you out there, and here we only have roads and concrete and high-rise buildings and machines and all the kind of technological things in the city, and nature out. Bring nature in and say, nature, welcome back in the city. And it can be done. Every roof should be a garden. I was in London. I went to visit a friend near Oxford Street. And after he gave me a cup of tea, we had a little chat and said, do you want to see my garden, Satish? I said, garden? Near Oxford Street in the city of London? Where is your garden? He said, come with me. We went upstairs, one flight upstairs on the roof. And it was a beautiful garden on the roof in a near Oxford Street. And the herbs and the flowers and the vegetables, amazing. And honey, beehives in the middle of London. Can you imagine? Beehives. And he was making honey. And he had a cupboard there on the roof of the house. And he opened the cupboard and gave me a pot of honey and said, this is for you. I made it here in this city of London. If he can do vegetables and herbs and flowers in the city of London, why can't we all do it? So let's transform all our roofs into either solar panels or roof gardens or water collection places. Use them. Walls can be changed too. The vertical gardens we can have in the cities. And then also in the streets, between the houses, there should be a garden. London used to be a good city before the Industrial Revolution and Industrial Age. London was built around squares. The Trafalgar Square, the Bloomsbury Square, the Tavistock Square, the Devonshire Square, square after square after square. That's a very good design of the city. But modern cities have no squares. They are long roads. That's not good design. So let's build squares again. And the houses are around the squares. And on the sunny day, the families can come out and go in the square and sit in the square in the sun. They can meet each other. The children can play, and there can be community in the city and the families coming together. Why not? So nature and culture wedded together, living together, and not separation of nature and culture. That can be done. Humans built the city. Humans can redesign the city and change it. This is not God-given. So we don't have to take it for granted. Let's transform our city into ecologically balanced communities. And then outside the city, within 40, 50 miles radius, there should be farms and the villages where they produce food and milk and cheese and many wonderful things and crafts. And so village people can come in the city once a month or farmers markets or something like that. And then other people can also go out and work, volunteers or work on the farms or gardens and so on. So it'd be a good relationship between countryside and the city. So that's my vision of a new future for cities and a good relationship and good balance between city and countryside.
Excellent. Thank you, Satish. We've got so many incredible questions coming through this evening. It's such a joy to listen to all of this. So our next question is about education. We've had a few people asking questions along that line. How can we ensure school children, university administrators and teachers include a focus on nature in their educational models?
Yes. Very good. This question is very dear to my heart because I have been involved in education for many years. And I started a small school in Heartland. And this research center used to be the small school. And I started Schumacher College in South Devon. I think our education emphasizes 3 R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. We have to change these 3 R's. They are not even 3 R's. But we have to change the 3 R's into 3 H's. We have to have education of head, education of hearts, and education of hands. Head, heart, and hands. And in order to do that, every school must have a garden. In schools, we have science lab, you have a gymnasium, playing fields, football fields, you have many things, but no garden. Every child should learn to see and garden, touch the soil, plant the seed, You plant a small tomato seed in a little pot, and that becomes a little plant, and then you take it and put it in the soil, and that plant grows, gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then there are some yellow beautiful flowers. What a magic emerging, children watching it, surprised. Wow, these plants are becoming flowers, and those flowers turning, transforming into fruit. And first small green tomato, then slowly slowly they became bigger, and they become yellow, and then a red, and they become juicy, and then become sweet and delicious. They pick it, they bring it in the school kitchen and cook and make salad. Every school must have a garden. That is the way to bring nature back into the life of young children. And also, kitchen should be in the school. Also, I would say every week, at least one day, should be outdoor classroom. Not indoor classroom, but take children out by the sea or in the forest or on Dartmoor, on the tors and the rocks and the forest, and let children watch the birds, and let children watch the animals, and see the wild horses and put it on Dartmoor or on Exmoor or wherever you are living in your own area. You must have some natural habitat. So give children that deep experience that I was talking about in my talk. And so one day a week, 4 days in the classroom, inside the school, and you can do your maths and science and languages and geography and history and any other subjects you are teaching. I'm not against academic subjects. I'm not against 3 hours, but 3 hours should be complemented with 3 H's. And so please, one day a week, children outdoor class. Then they will experience nature. Head, heart, and hands comes that way. And then also we need to bring some crafts. So children bringing things from trees or from natural things and as outdoor things they're collecting, and then making something, little furniture or little pottery, or they collect the clay and turn that clay into a pot and have a little kiln. What a miracle. What was an ordinary clay has now become a plate or a bowl or a mug, and we can drink tea from it. That experience is true knowledge. Our education at the moment is very limited to information, more information, very little knowledge, a little bit of knowledge, but very little experience and wisdom. When knowledge and information come together with experience, then you get wisdom and you get proper education. Education at the moment is treated as if children are empty vessels and they need to be filled with a lot of information outside. Education, the word education means to educare, which is a Latin word, which means to bring out. Like a tree comes out of an acorn, and an oak tree comes out of acorn, or an apple tree comes out of an apple seed. In the same way, a great human being comes out of a small child. So the great human beings already in that child, already. Einstein or Mahatma Gandhi or Buddha is not injected from outside. They're already there. And the work of a teacher is to develop that and bring that out and allow the child to flourish and become who she is and what for they have come in this world. So every child is a Buddha. Every child is a Mahatma Gandhi. Every child is a Mother Teresa. Every child is a Joan Baez. Every child should be allowed to be who they are. This is how head, heart, and hands work. So education at the moment is training young people for the jobs, not for life, but for the jobs, for the market, for the economy. I want to change that. I want to say economy is for children, children not for the economy. Markets are for children. Children and young students are not for the market. Don't train children and students for the market. Make market to suit and fit the children and their education and their well-being and their development. So we have got this all a wrong way around. What should be the means to an end has become the end. And what should be the end has become the means. Now humans have become the means to make profit, to learn the market and make the industry. So human beings have become the instrument and market has become the master. I want that changed. I want market to be the servant and human beings to be the master. That is the job of education. And this is why I started Schumacher College. And I have suggested to LSE, the London School of Economy, I gave a speech there, and I said to them that you should change your name. And you should not just teach economy, you should teach economy and ecology together and call it LSEE, London School of Ecology and Economics. Because ecology means knowledge of the ecosystem, our eco home, planet home, and the economy means management of the earth home, planet home. How are you going to manage your economy or planet home without knowing ecology, knowledge of the home? So ecology and economy should go together at LSE and call it LSEE, London School of Ecology and Economics. So that is the way to move and change and transform education, and all universities, all colleges, all schools should have connection with nature. They should have farms attached to them, gardens attached to them, kitchens attached to them, craftsmanship attached to them. That way we can make holistic and well-balanced education. I can give you a whole speech on education another day, maybe, but in a nutshell, we have to transform education to make it education of head, education of hearts, and education of hands.
Thank you so much, Satish. And the Resurgence Trust is an educational charity, and our entire 50-year archive can be accessed by schools and universities, teaching about the interconnectedness of all life. We shared our archive with over 1,000 schools during the spring lockdown, and this is something we'd really like to do more of. So we'll send you more information about that in Friday's email. But for now, Satish, another question we've had sort of about education is whether we should be talking to children about both hope and resilience. Are both of those things important, or is resilience more important at this time of climate crisis?
Both important. Hope and resilience go together. Hope is a kind of, I would say, 10% of hope. And 90% is resilience and action. We can't just live in hope. Hope is only an aspiration. I hope all will be well, but that's not enough. That's a good aspiration. We need hope. Without hope, there's no life. Hope is essential, like a foundation. But foundation is 10%. Then 90% is the building, the walls, the windows, the doors, the ceiling, the roof, the slates, everything. So in the same way, hope is good, 10%, but resilience comes from action. So we all need to become activists and bring that hope into practice, bring that hope into reality, bring that hope into manifestation, so that what we hope for, we have made it realized and made it happen. So resilience comes with action. If your body is not active, it will not be resilient. You have to use your muscles and your nerves in order to make them active. Otherwise, you lose them. Either use them or lose them. And so without action, there's no resilience. In your body, to have a resilient body, you have to go for walking every day. Even at 84, every day I go for 1 hour walk so that my body is resilient and strong. And so action is an imperative. Action is an essential for resilience. And so 90% is action. So action is through gardening, through cooking, through doing things with your hands, going out in nature, communicating with people, building communities, building families, building friendships, doing something good for the community, looking after older people, looking after sick people, educating children. There are so many things in society that we need to do. And by doing those things, by our action, we become resilient. But that resilience and that action cannot go forward without hope. So hope is necessary. Hope is the foundation on which resilience and activity and action are built.
Excellent. Thank you, Satish. How can we ensure that a respect for nature is present in companies amongst CEOs, and that factors into their decision-making alongside the financial aspects?
Yes. When I'm invited to speak to business houses, first thing I ask them is, are you a company? They said, yes, we are a company. So I said, all right, show me where's your kitchen. What do you mean? They asked me. We are a company, we are a business. We are not a restaurant. We don't have a kitchen. I said, if you don't have a kitchen, means you don't bake bread and you don't share bread, then you are not a company. Remember, the word company comes from compane. Com means together. Pane means bread. Sharing bread together, baking bread together, creating a community of people. When you are a companion, you share bread together, you become friends. So in order to make a good company, a good business, you have to transform your business into a community of people. And when you are a community, you have to share bread together. You have to have bread made and baked together. Don't buy your mother's pride, which is neither mother nor pride. It's a kind of like a cotton wool bread. Real bread. And then, so when you bake bread, you know where your bread is coming from, what kind of flour it is, and how it is baked. And so, is it organic? Is it local? So the moment you connect with the real life of bread, you start to think about it. So I would say, well, first thing, ask your companies and business houses to become a community of people. It's not just to make money that you come together. Money making is a part of your business, but there's only one part. Being companion and being a company is also a very important part. And therefore, every business should be a community of people. And then I would even say, if you are really interested in transforming your community, people should come together in your business house and meet like a community meeting. Bring a good reading, a good poem by Shakespeare or Hafiz or Rumi or Tagore or William Blake or W.B. Yeats or Walt Whitman or some great poet. Bring a poetry or bring some spiritual reading and say how everybody is together. Make a community of people. And then in that, once a week in that business, you should talk, everybody should talk about what is the purpose of our business, not how much money we are making, how much profit we are making, what is our balance sheet, what is our projection, what is our budget. All those things you can talk for 4 days or 5 days a week or 4 days a week. But 1 day a week should talk about the purpose, the values, the vision, the meaning of your business. Why are you here? The business has two purposes. One, of course, you have to make some livelihood. You have to pay your salaries and so on. But the other purpose is to serve the need of the community. Serve, because people need food. So the purpose of a business is to serve the need of the community and bring food to the community. People need clothes, and so you bring clothes to the people. People need houses, so you need to build houses for the people. So your purpose is to serve the community. At the moment, people are selling food to make money. People are selling clothes to make money. People are building houses to make money. They have nothing to do with community and what kind of food they are selling. So when you go to some of the shops, the first thing you see is all junk food, the sweets and chocolates and many kind of, very unhealthy food you get. Why? Because they make money. So if you remember the purpose of your business is to serve the local community and bring health and happiness and joy and goodness to the community, then your business is a good business. So business should be a kind of ecological practice. Business should be an environmental practice. Business should be almost a spiritual practice. Business should be an expression of love and mutuality and reciprocity in our community. If those values are lost and only one value left, that's money, 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 profit, 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 economic growth, economic growth, economic growth, that is, then you have lost the sense of proper business. So business is a very big, beautiful concept of companionship. Company is companionship. Make your business a community in itself, and then serve the community with the principle of reciprocity, mutuality, and service, and then making profit to keep the company going is necessary. I'm not against profit, but profit should be a means to an end and not the end itself. Production, consumption, and economic growth and profit are all means to an end. The end is to serve the community and look after nature and make sure that our soil, our forests, our oceans, our rivers, our human communities are in good health. And your business is leading to good health and good harmony and good healing, and not just a few shareholders becoming rich, and never mind what happens to the community, never mind what happens to your forest, never mind what happens to your rivers, never never mind what happens to your oceans. They are all some kind of afterthought. The main thought is making profit for your shareholders. That is a wrong priority. So change your means and ends and make them right. And end should be the end, and means should be the means. And the profit and consumption and production and economic growth is the means, and the serving the community and looking after nature is the end. Keep that in mind. If you keep that in mind, your business will be good. We need business. We need business people to be here and be successful. But without the real means and ends understanding, business will be destructive, and business will be polluting, and business will be damaging our soil, our forest, and our human communities.
Thank you, Satish. We've got time for 2 more short questions. The first of which is, how can we address politicians who actively work against unity and diversity?
We live mostly, you can say, in Europe and countries like Europe. We live in a democratic societies. Democracy is not perfect, but at least people have a vote and people have voice. So ultimately, the politicians are going to come to you and to me, to all of us, for their vote, for our vote. And so we have to change the public opinion and the public consciousness to change the politicians. Politicians will be the change never really happens from the White House or the Kremlin or 10 Downing Street or whatever the centers of power. Change always begins from the fringe, from the margins, where people are. The independence movement in India, the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa, the women's suffragette, the environmental movement, the social justice movement, they all begin from the fringe and from the margins. And people gather together and bring awareness and create change of consciousness. Then government change the law, whether gay rights, black people's rights, women's rights, they all started in the margin. And then politicians changed, and they changed the law, and the parliament changed the law. So I would say, don't think about politicians. Forget the politicians. Boris Johnson is not going to listen to you. But people create the public opinion. The real superpower is not America or Russia or China. The real superpower is public opinion. So go to the people, create a public movement, public awareness. All the great movements of women's rights, black people's rights, gay rights, anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, anti-apartheid, they all started from people's movement. The power of the people is the real power. The power of politicians is like a kind of illusion. You think that, Mrs. May was Prime Minister in England yesterday. Today, nobody knows where she is. And David Cameron was Prime Minister, very powerful. Their power comes because of the office and the kind of position of the government. That is not a real power. But Mahatma Gandhi's power, Nelson Mandela's power, Martin Luther King's power, and Shakespeare's power is the real power. So real power is not 10 Downing Street or in the White House. Tomorrow, when Trump is gone, nobody will remember Trump. And nobody remembers politicians. They come and go, hundreds and thousands of them come and go. But we remember Shakespeare, and we remember Walt Whitman, and we remember Lao Tzu, and the Buddha, and Jesus Christ, and St. Francis, and Mahatma Gandhi, and Nelson Mandela. So real power is power of people. Superpower is not America or Russia. Superpower is people's opinion and people's power. So I would say we, the activists, create a grassroots movement so strong, so powerful that people in power and government come to us and say, we will do what you are asking us to do. We will do organic farming. We will do renewable energy. When I came to England and started to edit Resurgence magazine, not one single windmill was producing renewable energy. Not one solar panel was producing renewable energy. Not one. And today, because of people's movement, Friends of the Earth, Greenpeace, WWF, Resurgence, we all started to campaign. Now, 1/3 of energy in Britain is coming from renewable resources, renewable sources like wind power and solar power and water power. So that is the power of people. And now government has decided that within 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, all fossil fuel will be removed and 100% zero carbon and zero fossil fuel use. That is the result of people's power, not politicians' action. Politicians' action follows. People lead. So I believe in people's power and not politicians' power. Let the people lead and let the politicians follow.
Very powerful. Thank you, Satish. And one last question, we've only got a few moments, is someone asking, how can we help spread the charitable work of Resurgence and its message about connection to nature, each other, and oneself?
Thank you. That's a very good question. That's very useful for us to know. And Georgie, you can speak a little bit more about this because you are our promotion and outreach officer, so you know how to do it. But my suggestion would be that Resurgence Trust produces a wonderful magazine called Resurgence and Ecologist, 6 times a year. And that gives you regular access to good ideas, all the kind of ideas I'm talking about spirituality, about holistic thinking, about interconnection, about renewable energy, about living lightly on earth, and Gaia, deep ecology. All these values are in Resurgence, issue after issue after issue. And then we have an Ecologist website. It's a free service. And we have got nearly 3 million people visiting our website. And then we have got events like monthly talks and my talk like today and this evening. And every month there are talks. And then we have annual festival well-being. And so there are many, many activities we are doing. And so by becoming a member of Resurgence Trust, you are supporting all these activities and you are joining a community of people who are like-minded. So join Resurgence Trust and participate in our monthly talks, our annual Festival of Wellbeing, our courses, and read the magazine and visit the website. You can have access to all the archives. All these things are a good way to join Resurgence Trust and support Resurgence Trust. That is the way. And you can speak more about it, Georgie, later as our promotion officer.